Alright, let's be real. RedSec is absolutely ruthless. You drop in, blink once, and you're already dead. And you're probably thinking how that guy killed you through a dust storm. Here's the thing. Half of the lobby isn't better than you. They're just running smarter settings. And that ends today. I'm showing you my full RedSec settings, visuals, controls, audio, all tuned to give you every edge possible. You'll see enemies faster, track movement cleaner, and get those buttery frames that turns almost one into W's all the time. We're not talking gimmicks. This setup that actually changes how you play. The colors pop, the recoil feels predictable, the whole game just starts clicking like it's reading your mind. So if you're tired of getting deleted before you even shot your gun, stick around. By the end of this video, you're not going to hope for those wins. You're going to expect them. Let's get into it. So the first settings that we are going to be looking at in the accessibility tab is the color profile section. More importantly, the neutral color setting. I have it set to a bright yellow. A lot of people in my streams have been telling me that it's working very well. Try this color out, and if it doesn't work out for you, try a different brighter color to allow you to see it a lot better. So the second settings that we're going to be going down to is obviously the world brightness down to 45 to stop the glare happening, and then go another one down to camera effects. Now on here we want to put world motion blur to 0 and weapon motion blur down to 0, infantry HUD motion down to off, and camera shake amount down to 50. Chromatic aberration off, infantry crosshair projection off. That is very, very important because it can allow for motion sickness. So definitely turn it off, especially if you are suffering from motion sickness like myself. So scrolling out of here, every of these other settings will be editing very shortly. So let's head over to the controller settings. So when you get to controller, click edit on triangle, and then go to controller settings. Now I have my infantry aim assist set to aim sensitivity set to 58. I believe that this is what works out the best for me. Try it. It may be too fast for you. You can always edit it and maybe reduce the sensitivity. Try it for yourself and let me know how you get on. Field of view set to 120. I don't believe you need it in anything less. I think the more field of view, the better. It obviously helps a lot. Uniform infantry aiming, set that to off. It's very important that you have it on off. And infantry aim input curve set to Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 4. Now, right now, dynamic is bugged, but once they fix dynamic, you'll want to be switching it to dynamic. But for the meantime, set it to Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 4, and I'll put in the comment section down below when dynamic has fixed so you guys can edit over there. Stick input acceleration presets to Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3, and Battlefield Bad Company. And the aim left right acceleration, set that down to 0. That is very, very important. You do not want it any higher than 12. Some people like aim acceleration. I do not. If you like the snappy aim, definitely set it down to a 0. Scrolling down, I have crouch toggle sprint onto crouch, and a double tap crouch for sprint slide as off. Everything else is default on there. I have zoom set to L1, which obviously then I'll have my fire set to R1. And I have my infantry aim sensitivity down to 75. It essentially just adjusts your aim sensitivity, your zoom sensitivity. I don't have to change any of the other zooms because I don't personally think you need to. And everything else down here is set to default just to show you that as well. Coming out of there, I change my presets. So obviously there's 6 and presets. Infantry controller mapping. I will show you the ones that I do edit. So I have my gadgets, ability, grenades set to L2 and R2. So the ping as well. And then if I scroll down, obviously I have my fire to L1 and R1. And then also zooming down a little bit more, obviously you see the L1 and R1, and I change my toggle for crouch to R3 instead of circle, and then I have my knife set to circle. Personally prefer that. It allows me to crouch and slide a bit quicker around the map. Try it out for yourself. Coming out of here, scrolling down, I don't really change much else on here. I kind of leave it default because I don't really fly any helicopters. But make sure you set your helicopter settings to what you would have it normally as. Controller tuning at the very bottom is very important. Now, I have controller vibration off. I think it's very important to have it off. If you have it on, it can alter your aim a little bit. I have noticed it when I used to play a long time ago with vibration on. Vibration, obviously everything's off, so you don't need to change it. And if you go down to here, we're going to be changing the dead zones. So, left stick, center dead zone is set to 8. Right stick, center dead zone set to 8. And the axial dead zone set to 6. And the maximum input threshold to 100. LT dead zone and RT dead zone, which is your L2 and R2, set that down to 0. You don't need anything higher than that. It works perfectly fine as 0. Now, if some people do have jammed triggers, if you do have them jammed, whack them a little bit higher. But if you don't, keep it to 0. Now, moving off that and off the controller settings, we're going to be moving down to graphics settings. So on here, I have basically what I think is the best settings, and it's virtually on low. Now, I do play around with the texture quality on high. I sometimes put it to low, depending on the scenario. If I want more frames, I'll put it low. If I don't really care about frames, I'll put it on high. But everything else I set to low gives you the maximum amount of input and frames. And the game looks beautiful as is. I set the world sharpness to 100. World brightness, which I told you about before, is at 45. Go to advanced settings. In here, I have NVIDIA Reflex Low Latency is enabled, plus boost. Upscaling technique is DLSS, and set it to balanced. Coming out of here, scroll down. We've talked about, obviously, the world motion blur and all that type of stuff, so we're going to skip past that. We're going to go down to audio. Now, in regards to your audio volume levels, I would definitely play around with them and fit your system and your needs. Obviously, if you copy mine, it might be a little bit too quiet, but also it might be a little bit loud for you. So just try out this, and if it doesn't work, just edit it yourself. You can use these as a baseline. Scrolling down, I have my audio mix set to high dynamics. Obviously, usually default mix. I personally think high dynamics is the best. I personally think it offers the best audio. Definitely hear it out for the footsteps in BR. You need it as much as possible. And that is basically what I set it at. If we come out of here and we go to system, there's a couple of things that I do have changed in here, which is obviously to show the gameplay data sharing on. And also if you go to minimap, I set the minimap size to large, and I put the map rotation on. Also, I have the distance on foot set to 300, whereas it defaults to 160. And well, for some weird reason they've set to default, but these should all be set to max. So make sure that is you've set it to large, and then you put that on the largest one you possibly can. You can also change the opacity to see behind it. I don't think it needs to be changed personally, but just give it out for yourself. The last thing I want to go over is HUD minimap. So minimap size to large, which obviously I did talk about before. If you scroll down, I have the infantry compass on multiplayer, and the compass on. Very, very important. I believe that works the best. And you can also in here, a lot of people, I obviously play around with my crosshair settings a lot on stream. A lot of people ask me what I have mine on. I have it on default. I do sometimes change the crosshair thickness too thick. Sometimes I just think it looks a little bit better and a bit cleaner. And obviously I have the intensity set to max use sometimes. But it really does depend if you really want the intensity or not. I don't personally think it needs to be, but a lot of people have it slightly at the opacity down below. Try it out for yourself, and obviously sometimes I do change the color to a bright pink. It really does depend on your personal preference. Crosshairs are really important, especially for hip fire, and it's definitely really, really important in this game. So coming out of here, that is virtually all we need to really talk about, but these are the main settings. The controller settings, the accessibility settings, and the graphic settings. The audio settings are very, very important as well. Now, a lot of people do ask me, do I put streamer mode and anonymous mode on? I don't. But sometimes if I was to be stream sniped, I definitely would put it on. If you don't want to hide your username, you don't need to. It doesn't really need to be a thing. But yeah, those are basically the settings. And that is basically it. So guys, I appreciate all you guys tuning into the videos. Appreciate all the love and support. And I will catch you all in the next one. Take it easy, guys.